Hey everyone, this is the KORG volca keys, and today we're gonna unbox it, have a look inside. Yeah, we'll get into, the why a little bit later, but I haven't opened it yet, so let's just get into some sounds. So this is what we're working with, KORG volca keys. So, a little bit of cardboard. There's a little mini jack connector for, I suppose, syncing and clock purposes. We have some batteries here. And then we have the main attraction, the KORG volca keys. Look at that. There's also some good old instructions, but I've seen enough videos from, Gabe Miller, Freebeat, everyone in the world that already has one of these. Actually, I don't need those. So I'm gonna attempt to just get into it and see how far I can get on my own. So, okay, forget what I said, we do need the batteries. So there's them. It is nice that it comes with the batteries. So, first impressions, it is small. I knew that. I remember when I first was, when I first bought my circuit tracks, maybe, I went to the music shop and looked at one of these, and it was tinier than I thought. And I'm like, I know everyone says they're tiny, but this is tiny. Okay, that took longer than it should have. With the batteries in, it is a little heavier. It feels a bit more premium, but obviously you know why it feels that way, because the batteries. Now, this thing actually has a speaker. Yeah, the knobs are, again, tiny, and I can definitely see myself touching the wrong knob here. But, that's not the end of the world, really. I suppose performance-wise, what you'll be using is cutoff, which is at the top, and maybe delay time, like during a performance. So it could be a bit of a set up a preset, and then the things you're really going to tweak aren't too bad. But yes, I can imagine it will be a problem that it might be very easy to touch things here and there. So turn her on, and look at that little startup sequence. Wow. Yeah, I will plug in some actual audio. That goes in there. I can hear that. Why can't you hear that? Okay, I'm gonna have to check out what's going on with my camera. So while I sort that out, let's take a quick look at why exactly I chose the volca keys over a very wide variety of other options. So really, the biggest thing when you're working within a budget and trying to decide between certain pieces of gear, I would say the biggest thing you need to consider is how one thing, the new thing, in this case the volca keys, is going to fit in with the other pieces of gear you've already got. In my case, the number one consideration to do with this is the circuit tracks. This is the centerpiece of any setup that I want to create at the moment, because really there's not much other choice. This is the only device I have with a sequencer that can sequence other things. So really that is the centerpiece. That's my only choice if I want a more complex setup. That has to be at the center of it. Now, budget was also a pretty big factor here, which is why I went for something on the, more moderate end, but, having already a couple of things like a circuit tracks, which is a little bit higher on the price spectrum, you know, there was no reason to go for something really bare bones. In that case, it would make more sense to just wait and get something a little bit higher end. For me, it was really the perfect balance between functionality and combining well with what I have, and then also it's relatively affordable. So, with that in mind, why exactly does this fit in so well with what I have? Well, the first consideration is polyphony. If you have an existing setup where you only have monophonic voices, which means they can only play one note at a time, looking for something that has the capability to play chords is a big deal. However, the Circuit Tracks is perfect for that. Each synth track has up to 6-note polyphony. Polyphony is always nice, having that flexibility, and the Volca keys is sort of polyphonic, and we'll get into that, but it wasn't a big deal. So what else was there? Well, the biggest thing about the Volca keys that, you know, is a pretty big selling point of it, and perhaps one of the reasons why it's still commercially successful today, is it's analog. And it is pretty cheap for an analog synth. It has 4 voices. It's not really polyphonic, but it's paraphonic. But it can play 4 notes at a time within certain limitations. You have pretty decent control over the parameters. It has a sequencer. It's, you know, you could create a full, you know, piece of music just on this, and it was $250 maybe. That's a pretty good deal for an analog synth. So really, that is the biggest consideration that went in here. Of course, KORG Volcas are renowned for being a very, you know, high quality entry point. So I suppose for me that is the main reason. Analog sounds is something I have not before this been able to explore, except for the stylophone. The exact tones you get, the slight inconsistencies you get from an analog synth is something that a lot of people really look for. Really, that's the main reason. Some other considerations are it does have MIDI, which, you know, for anything that you're paying a decent bit of money for, you would expect. But it also has sync options, which makes it quite easily compatible with the NTS1, just the 2 of them. There are any number of things that need to be considered, but I suppose polyphony, the exact tone, and of like the type of sounds, and then other compatibility things like syncing and MIDI. Those are probably the biggest things, and in this case, they definitely are. So there's going to be another video linked in the top corner, diving a little bit more deeply into the sort of process of selecting, you know, your next step gear-wise. But for the moment, I think we've got everything sorted. So let's jump back in and listen to the KORG Volca keys. Okay, never mind. OBS just had the wrong input set. I'm gonna move this away so you don't get quite so much of that tapping. And now let's sort of just make a sound. I am gonna move the camera though. In terms of sound, it's pretty simple, like as a synthesizer. Yeah, it kind of is. But that's part of the appeal of this device. Like, everything on the panel has one function, and really one function only. I'll get into, you know, a proper review in another video in a couple of months once I've spent some decent time with it. And I'm also going to start exploring the, you know, the synth a little bit more in depth in upcoming videos, and all of that will be linked in the corners as they come out progressively, and also in the description. And I'm sure there will be a Volca Keys playlist on my channel somewhere. So let's hear some demos of the Volca keys in context with some other gear. So there was this lo-fi jam I put together, which you could hear at the beginning of this video, and that will be linked somewhere, I'm sure. And then also there's a slightly more upbeat one, which I'll put, you know, a few snippets of here. But then again, a full annotated version of the jam like I normally do will be linked here again. So hopefully you enjoyed that demo. So a little bit more in-depth content will be coming soon with, you know, the sounds, combining it with other gear, so on and so forth. So thanks very much if you've made it this far. Please be sure to leave a like if you have enjoyed or gotten anything out of this video, and consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one, which again, hopefully pretty soon, but no promises. See you later.